Why on earth is Jared O'Mara still an MP?
Well, of course, there's now an investigation, and I think it's right that he's been suspended from the Labour Party and that due process will now take place, where obviously the very serious concerns that have been raised, rightly, about some of the tweets that he's posted in the past will be fully investigated. And it's right that we root out any misogyny, sexism, homophobia and racism in the Labour Party.
We should, though, consider the chronology of events. Yep, an investigation is now underway, but despite a party spokesman saying that the first they'd heard of this was just days ago, actually, we now know Labour HQ knew about this, back in September. You were made aware of the earliest comments that he made about poofters and fudge packers, of all things, about Jamie Cullum being sodomised by his own piano. You and Mr O'Mara did nothing until the reports were made public. Why not?
Well, I didn't know about these things, and I find those comments absolutely despicable. And let me make it absolutely clear, there is no place in the Labour Party for homophobia, for sexism, for misogyny and for racism.
But Mr Corbyn didn't think that they were absolutely reprehensible. Mr O'Mara wasn't a child when he made these comments. He wasn't a teenager. He was an adult. Now, despite making comments which, as you concede, are homophobic in the extreme, at the meeting of the PLP at which Mr O'Mara stood up and apologised, Mr Corbyn then stood up, said we should accept that apology, and do you know what? Hold on to that seat on, of all things, the Equalities Committee.
No, I'm not sure that that is actually the case. I think what you will find is that Jeremy Corbyn has called out misogyny and sexism and racism and homophobia.
Did he not say that we should accept this apology from Mr O'Mara and that he should continue on the Equalities Committee?
Jared O'Mara has been suspended from the Labour Party. That is the right course of action, and there is an investigation that I don't want to prejudice, but nevertheless, those views are reprehensible and they have no place in a modern democracy.
I'm just trying to work out what actually changed within the party hierarchy. Those comments made in 2002 and 2004, which seemed to have been dismissed because he was a bit younger when he made them, and he's been on a journey of all things since then. But in 2009, 5 years after he first stood for the Labour Party, he was referring online to a rhythm section tighter than your mother's ex, a band better than fellatio from Angelina Jolie. Now that was enough to suspend him, but comments about fudge packers and poofters, that's OK.
Look, it's all disgusting, and I think we let the investigation take place and we let due process happen.
The problem is this, let me put a proposition to you. Anyone, of course, can become a Member of Parliament if they get enough votes. Not everyone should be a Member of Parliament. Mr O'Mara may not be a sexist, a homophobe, a racist, but he's clearly an idiot.
And as part of the investigation, we need to look at how the procedures for selection and the choice of Mr O'Mara were adhered to by the party. That is part of the investigation, because nobody holding those views, in my view, has a place in modern democracy.
It's just, I'm struggling to understand why comments that were made slightly earlier in the first decade of this millennium, were considered to be less extreme than comments made towards the tail end. He was in his 20s throughout that process, and it's insulting, isn't it, to people of that age to suggest, like, it's the type of thing you say when you're young.
Well, I didn't say those things when I was young, and I find them reprehensible. There's no excuse for those comments, and I think that we let the investigation take due process.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.